Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 200 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is?
Today's topic is From Invisible to Influential, How to Showcase Your Value on LinkedIn. Your hosts are Bernie Fransgert from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive8U Inc. The aim is to help you find your feet in the business world, whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for a while. In each episode, they dive deep into a particular area of business and explore the ins and outs of that subject. They interview guests that are experts in their field who share their success stories and their experiences. They offer practical tips and advice. Our guest today is Marc Halpert from Knack to Collaborate. Marc is the founder of Knack to Collaborate, is a self-described multipreneur with a passion for LinkedIn and networking. Since launching his company in 2010, Marc has been on a mission to train and coach professionals on how to better showcase their unique value on LinkedIn, focusing on the why behind what they do. As a LinkedIn coach mentor, Marc has helped professionals across industries elevate their personal and company profiles. A dynamic speaker, he has led training sessions for companies like Hub International, GE Capital, and spoken at conferences, bar associations, and law schools. His books, LinkedIn Marketing Strategies for Law and Professional Practices and You, Us, Them, LinkedIn Marketing Concepts for Nonprofit Professionals, offer in-depth insights into mastering LinkedIn for professional and nonprofit success. Marc also shares his daily LinkedIn tips through his blog, making him a sought-after speaker, author, and podcast guest. Marc, welcome back to the podcast again. What is your favorite quote or saying, sir?
Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you ever dig. So what is Marcus saying here? Marcus and I, this Marc, is saying, you've got it in you. We've just been trained not to talk about it. Let it out. Sometimes you have to think really hard about the things you want to say and the things you think other people want to know about you, but you've never really had an opportunity to express it. I'm here to tell you should be doing this on LinkedIn. Because if you're putting your resume, copy paste, boring factoid, blah, 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 no one's going to read your profile because they fell asleep after your first sentence. You need to capture their attention and make them understand you are, and here's the word I made up, amazinger. Because you're amazing to start with. You have to overcome your reluctance to be amazinger.
Excellent. I really like that. So high school buddy, right? He said,
High school buddy. We went through Latin class together. He was very good. I was not so good.
so why is it essential for a small business to look at their LinkedIn profile and say, hey, this is me? Why is that important that the business has a good persona?
To make your point, to sell yourself. And if somebody Googles you, the first thing, more than likely, the first thing they're going to see is your LinkedIn profile URL. That's the way Google works. And LinkedIn works very well within Google. So when they go to LinkedIn and they start searching for people like you want them to find you. I earned a piece of business this year because somebody searched for my company, like other companies training on LinkedIn. They liked what I said in my company profile page. They wanted to know who said that individually. They found my personal profile page and hired me based upon a quick interview. Yes, I am the sole owner and the entire genius of this company, if I may be so bold as to say that. But I rely upon other people to help me and influence me. And this is the we part of what we do. But when they want to know about Marc individually and not the company, I do it in I, me, my. So tip number 1 for the morning here, use the we, us, our pronouns in your company profile page and use I, me, my, and mine in your personal profile page. Make them complementary to each other, but never repeat the same thing twice because no one wants to read it twice. Correlate them. If you'd like to know more about Marc, see my personal profile page. If you'd like to see more about what the company does, see my company profile page, which will take you to my blog pages. You have no control how people are going to find you take every opportunity to be found and to be appreciated because you are amazinger than your competition.
How old is Amazinger?
How old is amazinger? I coined that word about 13 years ago. I kept hearing people saying, I'm amazing. Where are people? Why aren't they coming to me? And I said, if I read your LinkedIn profile, you're not that interesting. How are we going to make you more interesting? And they said, how are we going to be more amazing or coach me? And that's began the coaching business that I do because people were taught not to talk about ourselves in school. We were taught to sit in the back, be quiet, listen, absorb, regurgitate on a test form. We were not taught to take a piece and putting it together in a way no one else has done. That's what we need to do as entrepreneurs. We need to show our value based upon the unique foresight, insight we bring with us in all we do. The creative insight, if I may be so bold. Because if you can't create from the things you have experienced and learned, you will be left in the dust. You get nanoseconds to make an impression.
That impression is an emotional component, right? Is there resonance, etc. And usually, when you're looking to buy something, we all like to think that we do the logical piece prior and after and during, but it's emotionally driven. And how do you create that emotional with somebody? Is it understanding the audience? How do you do the ta-da, the part that brings the bell, so to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's a woman named Lois Geller who wrote an article, I think it's about 12 years ago in Forbes magazine about branding. It was about Pepsi and McDonald's and those types of brands. As I read the article, I began to realize there's a deeper meaning to that. And what I do, people buy a brand for cerebral and emotional reasons. Cerebral costs less, about the same. Emotional, identity with a brand name, identity with a logo. Why do we have Tony the Tiger? We all grew up with Tony the Tiger. We love Tony the Tiger. Brands change to become part of the current environment. So there is an emotional aspect to it. It is now totally acceptable, expected to be vulnerable on LinkedIn, to be emotional on LinkedIn, to tell a story of how you extricated yourself from the hole that you came out of, to tell your story. And storytelling is very powerful because stories are memorable. We've been doing this. Probably it's the world's oldest profession, although some people debate what the oldest profession in the world is. Storytelling is right up there amongst the top two. Storytelling is something we still do because we need to be remembered. We need somebody to say, hey, Bernie, Wayne, I read that story on your LinkedIn profile. That shows something to you, their attention span, their brain cells to absorb what you were telling. And you better be, both Bernie and Wayne, ready to answer with, what did you like best? Why was that interesting to you? Do you have a story that you'd like to tell me back? Swapping stories, trading emotion is really why we're here. It's not just cerebral. We have to address each other, nudge each other, rub up against each other in an emotional way. Then they might engage you for business. You've made that overwhelming impression that they feel comfortable knowing that your past makes you who you are today. You can say that very easily on your resume, although I am not suggesting you put your resume on LinkedIn unless you're a job seeker. I want you to talk about the holes in your resume, the in between the lines in your resume that 2 pages on 2 white pieces of paper don't tell about you. You have ample space on LinkedIn to talk about why you did, what you accomplished, where you came from, who was influential to you. Then you talk about who you are today because your past makes your present, right? And then you engage with your client or prospect and you say, this is what we both get if we ride on each other's coattails into the future. How many LinkedIn profiles have I read when I've said, I don't know what they do. It doesn't make any sense to me. They know in their head what they're saying, but why would I want to buy from this person? Why would I even consider spending time to authenticate this person? Oh, maybe I got a referral from somebody. Okay, fine. What are they thinking if I read this LinkedIn profile? It's full of factoids. I hate factoids. Or it's so full of dense copy that it's impossible to read. I fell asleep after the third sentence. You got to make it interesting. You got to split it up. You got to show your personality because we're buying emotionality and personality, whatever you want to call it, because we expect the cerebral to come with it anyway. We have to read intonation into what we see and hear. We want to Zoom with that person because if you read my LinkedIn profile, you will get the same intonation I'm giving to you right now because I'm passionate about what I do. I love what I do. If you're not coming across loving what you do, you may get the call after they read your profile. It means someone else wrote it for you because that's not in your personality. You are going to lose them on the phone call, the Zoom call, because they're going to say, wait a minute, I'm not really into this person the way I was when I read that person. I'm saying a lot of things here. The ultimate acid test is to look at your LinkedIn profile from a 30,000 foot view and say, would I buy from me based on what I see here? And I've had almost everybody say, never in a million years. I need some help. That's what I do. I help people get out from under themselves.
In respect to what you've just described, and I see it quite often used when you're writing an article. You say write it at a grade 6 level and the audience for that resonation. Like you said, the factoids, they're really handy if you're the type of person who likes to be in the weeds of all the data and you need all those parameters versus I'm looking and I'm shopping. So treat it like a advertising project where you're trying to draw the person in. What you do, you're trying to make yourself as attractive as possible. Has that been a cultural shift and you also mentioned another piece, being authentic or vulnerable? Has that been a shift that, let's say, 1950s, vulnerability was not a guy thing at all?
1990s, it was not a guy thing at all. There was no LinkedIn in the 1950s. There was no LinkedIn until the late 90s. I think we've had two sea changes in business environment. One is 9/11, I believe, and the other is COVID. I'm certain we are all so different now as a result of COVID. Let's just concentrate on COVID because it's most recent. We now understand how vulnerable we are to a microbe and to how businesses change because no one goes to work anymore. Everybody works from home now. And I could have underneath my work shirt a t-shirt because I just got finished working out. You never do that in an office. But now because of visual business that we do, we make the impression behind us. And that's all that you get to see. So you have to make that impression from your face, your hands, your eyes, your voice, your intonation. That shows you vulnerability because if you read boring, you will get boring business. And boring business is not a keeper business. It is a one-off and you'll lose it again because they'll go to the next least expensive person. You need them to buy your brand. You need them to go to the cereal aisle and only pick up Cheerios because they've been buying it for 35 years. You can't convince them to eat Wheaties if they're going to eat Cheerios. It ain't going to happen. So you want them not only to invest in your brand, you want them to engage you as the purveyor of your brand, and you want them to come back. I got the whole family coming to me. He hired me years ago. He asked me to work with his wife who was changing careers. I helped his daughter who was out of school, looking to make a big inroad into Washington, D.C. politics and marketing of a political candidate. And she did really well. And I have nothing to do with that except to get her LinkedIn profile to the place where she could be a contender in a very competitive world. And now I'm working with his son. There's no more family. Get the dog next. This is crazy. But I have many people who say, okay, you and I worked together 10 years ago. I've got a new industry since, I knew new sensibilities. Let's rework it. It doesn't take a new industry to make you want to look back on your LinkedIn profile every 3 months. And I put it on my calendar to make myself do this, to say, can I say something on my LinkedIn profile better because maybe something's changed. Maybe I have a different way of expressing it. Maybe the world has changed around me and I just didn't get around to that. It's got to be the best you can do. Vulnerable, emotional, factoidally, if that's an adverb, cerebral. I make up words all the time. It has to be your best step forward because you don't get another chance. They're gone. They don't come back.
Here's a question I know others are asking. Let's assume you can build a better LinkedIn profile for someone, but how do you keep the person from wanting to buy Mark instead of Wayne because Mark built the LinkedIn profile?
I train all my clients not to stop at rewriting their LinkedIn profile because that's static. It sits there. It's done. It's like printed on paper until you make a change. I teach them to continue to engage with readers, whether they are followers, connected people, or maybe somebody who just casually comes by and hopefully it's a referral. You don't know. You have 4 ways to engage readers with excellent content. One is, what do you know that the reader doesn't yet know, but needs to know? What's something new in your industry? What's some revelation you've had that you've put some facts together and saw things in a new way? What's some experiment that you did that really worked and you expect that others would need to know about it because it worked for you? What do you feel that they don't feel yet? Because they don't know yet. And that's squishy. If you know it and you can back it up with facts, they might feel differently. A lot of this comes from thinking about COVID. We feel about things different than we did before. We've learned things as a result of the experience we had. Now we feel them in a different way and we act in a different way. That's part of that vulnerability thing, the genuineness, emotionalness. This is part of where that came from. So now that you know something and that is you feel something, the next thing you want your reader to do is to believe something. They don't yet believe, but now that they know something and feel it, maybe they might just believe in a different way because you believe it and you've seen it really come to reality. So know, feel, believe. And the 4th thing is, how do you get them to act? Contact me. I know how to do this. Here's a little animation that shows how I work. People love that. I have 2 animations. It shows personality and action and fun, and it's cute. How do you get people to share your material? 5 people that this would help. Would you do me the favor of please sharing this material? Because maybe I can help them know, help them feel, believe something they don't yet. And you'll be the good person for having shared it with those 5 people. So it's not about me, it's about you now. I take the focus off of me. I put it on what you can do with this. And if you'd like to know more, contact. Read my profile. See what other people have said. Read my recommendations for my clients. See what I've accomplished. See where I came from. My past makes my present. See where my present's taking me on my future. I'm doing all sorts of things. This is my new thrust for 2025, and I'm about to write an article on that. This is action. See the energy I have? People are drawn energy. People are not drawn to blocks of print that they can't understand. I teach lawyers and accountants a lot about this. This evening, I'm teaching a course for baby boomer lawyers how to use LinkedIn, which should be fun because this group was taught to take a block of material and analyze it and tear it apart, put back together again. We're synthesizing new things that people need to know, feel, believe, and do. But they just don't know that they can write about it, talk about it, and make it an example. Tell stories, use video, use graphics, use color, use colorful language, use powerful verbs. Folks, let's get away from has, was, made, did. All right, let's soapbox in 1 second. Use powerful verbs. There's a wonderful website out there called 185 Powerful Verbs you can use on your resume. Speak in the educational level you are speaking to. I don't teach 5th graders. If I were, I would be in an elementary school and not be able to talk to you right now because I'd be teaching something.
I love it. I love it. Question though, things around us, our environment changes. And if you're a dentist or mechanic, a coach, you tend to focus on the topic at hand. Your LinkedIn profile goes to the back end of the bus and it gets parked there, which is, shouldn't do that, right? You should always revisit it. But you revisit now, and I open up, I look underneath the hood, going, "What have I written here? How do I want to convey it?" There are nuances that have changed in the environment. How do you finally now you're making sure you're updating everything, but how do you find that I'm updating it, but in the right way, or is that just call Mark?
You didn't know this, but you asked me today's question. Thank you. That's perfect. I blog every business morning at 8 a.m. East Coast time. You're going to see something from me on my LinkedIn profile. If you're connected to me, if you subscribe to my blog, it doesn't cost anything. I love it when people read my material. Today's piece is an old blog piece from several years ago that I revisited. It's still on oldie but goodie. And when you read it today, you'd see it in a little bit of a different context. So we introduced it with a couple of new thoughts. But the same material is the same good stuff. So the old stuff is new again. That's a great way to show how essential what you're teaching is as a life lesson, as a transformative skill, as whatever you want to call it. It becomes your gift that you're imparting to somebody else as your gift to them. And that makes you respected, adhered to, listened to, commented back. Now, I've told you 4 ways to get great content. The other ways are to comment on other people's comments. Not thumbs up, not clappy hands, not smiley faces. Come on, folks. We're smarter than that. Don't tell me you liked it. A monkey can do that. I can teach a monkey to click a button, tell us why in educated language this spoke to you. And I have a cadre of people who comment back on my comment, and I comment on their comments willingly. We have made our little worlds better places. All of their content connections see my comments. All of my connections see their comments. Around the world it goes. So there's so much more to make your profile represent you based upon the things you say on a regular basis. Now, I am not telling you to say something every single day. If you don't have something important or interesting to say, don't. Don't feel you have to fill time, space, and electrons. At least 2 or 3 times a week, you should be active. You should show you're alive, that you're thinking, that you're not just a massive carbon life force, that you are doing something to help people understand the value, your values you bring to the table. The more they see good material from you, the more they remember you, the more they will be able to come up with your name when they need you or they hear somebody else needs you and they can refer you. You're reading this guy, Wayne, and Wayne is so good. You know what? He seems to have it going on. So why don't you take a look at Wayne's profile and see how to get a hold of Wayne? Now, here's the big caveat, folks. Your top card has to have a lot of essential things, but the most essential thing that I see most people do not do is, how do we get a hold of you? What's your email address? What's your cell phone number so we can call or text you? Please do not tell me you're afraid of getting a bunch of crazy, stupid calls. You can ignore them. So your top card is the first thing they see. As they read down, they come back up. And I suggest in your about section, the very last line of your about section, you say, do you like what you're seeing here? Then contact me. Let's discuss it. Here's my cell phone number. Repeat it for them there. And here's my email address. However you want to contact me, call to action. Contact me. I'll bring it home for you.
One of the things Bernie regularly beats me about is how hard it is for me to post a picture with my incredible voluminous wisdom. And he says that without a graphic, they're just not going to read, regardless of whether you're Marcus Aurelius or some dead Latin guy.
You can do video or static graphics either very well or very badly.
Okay.
All right. First of all, if you don't know what you're doing, see what other people are doing and take style notes from them. I'm a big copycat, but I like to put my own patina on it. I like to put my own touch to it. So you notice every one of my blog posts, I have a picture on every blog post, but it's not exactly about what the blog is about, but it's peripherally something the blog post talks about that the picture can complement. I choose my pictures. I'm a visual person. I like to see people use a lot of visuals in LinkedIn because LinkedIn is visually stimulating. Come to the professional world. I like Pixabay, for example. Canva has a bunch of them. Microsoft products have a bunch of them. Be careful not to use the same one everybody else uses. I want you to use a graphic that's high resolution, that talks to the topic. Please don't show me your face every time. I can't look at everybody's face every single time. We got a great place to find your face in that top card. That's your headshot. Now look at your headshot. Does it look like you? Did you have it taken before the pandemic? If you did, you don't look like that. I'm sorry to tell you, do not look like you looked before the pandemic. All right. So get a new headshot. Get a good banner. Talk about what you're doing so people know what work you do in one immediate eyeball impression. Video is the new art form on LinkedIn. But you know what? I resist that to a certain extent because people are so one way on LinkedIn. They only do video or they only do static. I only do static pictures. I like to make my pictures thought-provoking, interesting, visually rich. I decided not to do video because it was taking too much time for me to say what I could write because I'm doing it over and over. It's never perfect the way I wanted it. I decided to use rich static pictures and only use video when it's essential. You should not post anything on LinkedIn without some sort of visual with it because it will get lost. Wayne, I'm talking to you. It will get lost in the shuffle.
I've noticed in LinkedIn, when you're doing a static image, you have some options. You can edit it, crop it, etc. You have another option where you can add a person's name or multiple people and company names. Is that another good way to leverage look over here, and by the way, look over here and this person or this company?
Yeah. Bernie Fransgrove as Wayne Pratt. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed it. When you invoke somebody's name, they feel obligated to respond. If you have an open-ended question, at Marc Halpert, what do you think about this? Marc Halpert's going to tell you what he thinks because it's in my nature, it's in my DNA to add more content on top of comments, not being overshadowing, not being disrespectful, but being complimentary. Here's what I've seen in my practice. Also works. Thank you very much, Bernie and Wayne, for adding that comment this morning. Thank you very much to at featured.com because I've been published 12 times through their service as quotes on topics that their magazine or writing community is looking for information and observations on. And that's gone a long way to making me more visible in what I do. So I need to thank them. What do? They say, at Marc Halpert, it's a pleasure to have you. So I get that stamp of approval back and makes me just a little bit larger than life. That's what we're trying to do here. Life passes us by. We need to stop the madness and stop people from ignoring us to see we have something to add. So yes, use @ in front of names. Find their name in the list that drops down on LinkedIn and click it. It goes to bold and blue in your post. We're seeing a lot less of hashtags and terms these days. One day it stopped. And it was really weird. Normally they start somewhere, they eventually go across the world. But I noticed that one day, where did all the hashtags go? I think it got to be too much work for people. Sorry, folks, that's not the way I work. It's that vulnerability, genuineness, emotionality that we're talking about, not to be an automaton.
Have we come far enough? I know we should do it all, but have we come to a point now where we can almost ignore our webpage because it's irrelevant and we should spend all that time on LinkedIn and have nothing but a landing?
Absolutely not. Get your website to talk about the business aspects of what you do. Use your LinkedIn profile to complement the website and vice versa. Point people from your website to your LinkedIn profile. Point people from your LinkedIn profile to your website, to your blog, to whatever you've got. I think you get 5 different URLs to add to your contact information on your LinkedIn page. You have plenty of room. If you're a photographer and an attorney at the same time, and you've got a photographic portfolio you want people to see, add that to make yourself look like a human on your contact information on LinkedIn, because you can do it. Your bio page on your law firm is just a factoidy, pretty picture about you, but where you went to school and how long you worked at the firm, and that's not going to make somebody buy from you. Be sure your bio page on your website, whether it's your website or your firm's website, has a way to get to your LinkedIn profile with one click. Don't make them look you up. If your name is John Smith, they're never going to find you.
And I noticed on LinkedIn, there's a verified feature, and I've gone through that process. Is it a value? Is it as opposed to someone being someone shows up that you've never met before and they're knocking on your door? Sometimes I'll get, yeah, okay, you seem to be like one of a mini group of people coming from an area of foraging, and I'm not interested.
I love that. Forage. Good question. They're not foraging. They're feeding on the bones of dead animals is what they're doing. A friend of mine called me up and he said, I've been talking to this person. She's in China and I'm not really getting anywhere in the conversation. I said, all right, what's her name? Let's look at it together. So we shared a screen on it. And I said, she's not verified. So I said, you're going nowhere. You're wasting your time. Every country has the ability to verify right now. It's totally globalized on the personal level. Did you also know you can verify your company profile page? Please, folks, do that. Verify your company profile page so that if somebody's referred to your company profile page, they can be sure that you're the real deal. Verification is a simple thing. You need to have a government issued ID. It costs you nothing. It happens behind the scenes and suddenly you have this little shield with a check mark. Does that mean it's perfect? Absolutely not, because verified people can still be hyenas picking at the bones, and they're going to try to sell you on something though they don't even know what you need or want. And if all of you are listening out there, stop sending me connection requests. So I had to get to the point where I wrote into my LinkedIn profile in my about section, if you read this far, these are 2 magic words you need to say to me to prove to me that you read what I'm all about. If they haven't mentioned those words and they try to connect to me, block and report. That's because I'm a LinkedIn coach, probably a little much for most people. But I got the point where 9 out of 10 connection requests were trash. I couldn't do it anymore. Didn't have enough time in my day. So I took my own step to stop it. And it stopped mostly. Had one guy the other day from the UK. He sent me a really nice connection request, told me that he really likes what I'm talking about. Maybe we could talk. I thought it sounded good. Yeah, we had a really nice conversation. We became connections because he had something interesting I could learn from. I had something interesting he could learn from. Know, feel, believe, call to action.
What does LinkedIn do when you say block or this person's spam? What happens on the other side?
I blocked them and I think it's spam. There's another box on the bottom that says, tell me what happens with this. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whether they kick them off of LinkedIn doesn't make me feel better. So I don't check that box anymore. I was finding most of them were not being pursued effectively. LinkedIn bots were saying, oh, he seems like a good person. She seems like a good person. They were just being foolish. Because once I block them, I've made that commitment. I go through the process of blocking and reporting, but I do not really want to be told where that goes.
In the inboxes, we get words every year. That's this year's word or story. Last year was authentic. This year is storytelling. What does storytelling mean to you? Some people are raconteurs, some people aren't. How do you invoke storytelling in LinkedIn messaging?
3 months ago, I decided to review my LinkedIn profile every quarter. I looked at it today. I made a change. I feel good about what I changed. It really reflects me. Perhaps you'd like to do that too. That's a story. Something I did that you can do that can better me, can better you. Here's an article I read. I really found interesting. I had never considered this, that, or the other. I asked a friend of mine who said, this is a seminal article in my field. I'm sharing this with you. Send it to 5 of your friends. Again, always that call to action. It's that, oh, there's an experience here that I want to be part of and I want to be in it. And now he's giving it to me and now I can give it to other people. Stories are huge. Stories do not have to be long and drawn out. They can be very short. This is what I did. This is what you can do. This is why we should all be doing this. If I tell you, I looked at my LinkedIn profile today and I made a change, you're going to forget that tomorrow. 5 minutes from now, you're not going to care. If I tell you that I made a benefit, I actually even said, and I captured a new potential prospect as a result of the change I made. Oh, then people pay attention. You've done something I need to do.
When you're commenting on someone else's post, you see something that, it engages you, write a story. And I've done this myself where I'm going, oh, this is a great story, but this person over here, and it goes to the nature of creative insight, right? Connecting people. Hey, this is a story at person's name, Wayne Pratt. You might find this of great interest. Wayne's done that too. He's typed in and used the @ symbol in the comment section and fires it off. Is there a proper etiquette? Let's say you have a cluster of people, there's 10 people, they should all really read this. And you go at person's name going, you folks, you got to read this. Is there a proper way of doing that?
If somebody evokes your name with an @ sign in front of it and sends it to you, you should say, thank you, Bernie. I really appreciate that. I'll look at it tomorrow. But if I haven't gotten back to you, Bernie, and I said, Bernie, that article you sent me yesterday was really good. Thank you for thinking of me because it is something I can use with my clients. If I don't thank you for that, then you should stop sending me stuff and choose the best of the best to send to who appreciate it. And this is not 3 months later. This is same day. Be in the moment. The world is spinning very fast right now. As soon as I put it out to Bernie, people in every country of the world that Bernie is connected to, people can see it and engage in it. That's important to me. That topic may not be hot tomorrow, but it's hot right now. So put it out there. Be in the moment.
This may apply, this may not apply, but it intrigues me. When I look at LinkedIn, the people there are the head of Microsoft, the head of Google. They have amazing cultural weight. And sometimes I wonder, why even bother? Why even try?
Those people typically want keynote speeches. They want to be seen in the press. So when they act to do something, the press looks to LinkedIn first to get the full story from their perspective on their biography. They'll have to go to any one place and cobble it together. So the press loves that, but it's not the percentage of the C-suite on LinkedIn is much smaller than the rest of the people on LinkedIn. It's just that they have people to write their profiles for them. They're not taking the time to do it, and it's being done by marketing people for them. For those of us who don't have a marketing department, you're looking at the marketing department. I have to write it for me. So I write it in the way that I think reflects best for me. And I engage with podcasters like you guys and my blog posts and all the stuff I write. I wrote an article for the American Bar Association Journal and I got printed, and I was so happy about that. It gives you a level of believability. The other thing I do, which most people don't do, and it's so simple, and people go, wow, that's pretty cool. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I have quotes from people I've worked for. I don't name them, but I might say C-suite marketing executive at a manufacturing firm said this, quote unquote. Or the guy who hired me for a legal conference said this was the best speech of the conference. So without anybody recommending me with their name on top of it, I'm telling what other people have said to me unsolicited. And they are all honestly unsolicited. Admittedly, recommendations are solicited, which is why we used not to believe them. But if I know the person writing that recommendation, or if I recognize them in my industry and they are of the right caliber and weight, then it suddenly becomes believable too. But be sure you have recent recommendations out there. Working with a woman right now, her most recent recommendation is 10 years ago. Oh God, where have you been for 10 years? Please. We look at these things.
If you're launching your persona, whether you're a large company or solopreneur, and you have a marketing strategy, your branding strategy, everything kind of folds together. Everything should be in sync, including your content push, the messaging you want to convey, the colors, everything else. That should all have 100% alignment.
Is that a question or a statement?
Both.
Okay. I'll take it as a question. Yeah, you should be ready. You should be professionally driven to present well, but don't feel like it's cast in stone. Your LinkedIn profile can be changed at any minute in real time to show the world who you are at that moment, which is why I suggest don't let it go more than 3 months. All right. So there's a degree of being real, there's a big degree of being stilted and cardboard, and you always want to be real and you want to be fresh. But if you're a new company, you have to understand that your process is going to change with yourself as you mature, with your business as it matures, with your industry as it matures, and with the global economy as it changes. And it can change, as we've seen, very rapidly. Colors, absolutely. Logo, people change logos from time to time, but strip it in. Hey, folks, I'm about to change my logo. Keep an eye out for this space next week. Hey, folks, I'm going to change my logo tomorrow. It's coming tomorrow. Hey, folks, here's my new logo I promised you. Tomorrow. Hey, did you see my new logo? I changed it yesterday. If you missed it, here's the link to see it. 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever, drip it in. Drip in things so you get this anticipation. Okay, it's fun. People follow you. They get invested. So I always promise to give people my LinkedIn knowledge with a dollop of brand marketing on top. And there's the cherry that goes with it, because I'm learning as I go. When I stop learning, I stop. I won't do something I can't learn more about anymore. But this whole thing about doing something on LinkedIn for boomer lawyers, this is a brand new thing for me. I keep taking my knowledge and opening it up to new audiences that need and are interested in it. Would I have done this 5 years ago? Not in your life. I wrote books. I maybe have another book in me. I don't know. But my blog serves as my constant ability to express myself. I look at my environment. I look at what comes over my screen. I comment on everything with a LinkedIn lens, because that's my job.
Mark, you mentioned the pandemic and how much it changed things. We're all roughly around the same age. When we were in our village, we knew the guy that owned the hardware store, or we knew the barber, and we might even have known the person that ran the grocery store. That was our community. And then thanks to Zoom, we got the entire world. And then we realized the world's too big and we just can't engage 6 billion, 8 billion people. So we have to build our own community.
I have selectively chosen certain people to have weekly or monthly Zoom chats. We're going on our second year in this. Now, at an hour a week or an hour a month for 2 years, you get to know people pretty damn well. This afternoon, I'm talking to a guy from Mexico. He just came back from a tour in Europe and a safari in Africa. And I told him, get those pictures ready. I want to hear all about it. When I had my third grandchild, he wanted to see pictures of my grandchild. This is not just business. This is human to human. I wrote him while he was on his safari. I said, hey, man, I miss you. When are you coming back? I want to hear all about it. This is what we do. I've got a guy named Paul. He and I comment on each other's LinkedIn posts every single day because we have committed to post every single day. I never met him. He was a referral to me. And we talk to each other through LinkedIn. We rarely pick up the phone or Zoom. We get each other really strongly, really deeply. He appreciates me. I appreciate him. I had a friend. She died. She was 80-something years old. I saw her son give the eulogy for his mother. I said to another friend, who is this guy? I want to meet him. He's become a fast friend of mine. I'll speak to him this afternoon too. In San Diego, we found we had so many weird interests in common. Weird stuff. we collect the same artist. Now, what are the chances of that? There's something in the karma there, something going on. I sensed it. So I surround myself with great people. I did something this year and I'll do it next year as well. I curated the professionals I work with and collaborate with them. We gave presentations this year where they did their piece and I did my piece and we tied it all together and people loved it. They were flattered. I asked them. I was flattered they accepted. We made deeper inroads with each other because you never really know how you work with somebody until you actually present with them. I collect the best of the best. I collect people like baseball cards and I pull them to the front and I keep cycling through them. The best ones are on the front.
So what's the future hold in LinkedIn? What's the next 3 to 6 months? The year is out. What do you see in the horizon right now?
We've had 150 some changes to LinkedIn this year already. We had about that number last year. I wish they would redesign the entire user interface because it is counterintuitive. It is not logical. Where do you find groups? You find them in the top right corner under the 9 dots. What is it doing up there? Why is it there? No wonder people don't use groups. They don't know where to find it. It's so hard to learn. And that keeps people like me in business because people don't know how to use it. That's fine. But I hope they do change it. It needs a basic overhaul. I think it will be much more video driven. It will definitely be much more mobile app driven, which I don't love. I wish they could figure out a way to make the app exactly like the desktop and the desktop look exactly like the app. So I don't have to take 2 halves of my brain and figure out which half am I using right now, the app half or the desktop half. And it's not just me as a coach saying this. It's everybody who knows less than I do are saying, oh, I can't figure out what to do with this. There's so many things you can do on LinkedIn that most people don't even know. Did you know that you can schedule a post into the future? Most people never even thought about this. Why would I want to do that? We go on vacation. You're at a conference. What are you going to do? You don't want to sit in a hotel room and type out a post. Just set it up ahead of time. They keep adding new stuff rather than addressing the stuff that's not designed well. My opinion, not employed by LinkedIn. I'm independent, as you can tell.
Mark, I know this resonates with our clients, our readers, our listeners.
You can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/NIN/Marc, M-A-R-C, Halpert, H-A-L-P-E-R-T. Marc Halpert's all one word. You can find my website at Connect2 Collaborate. If you want to read my blog, you can go on that Connect to Collaborate website and look for LinkedIn nuggets because I try to leave a nugget everywhere I go. Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't text me to connect with me unless you've used the magic words I talked about and can convince me why we should connect, because I don't connect with people unless we are already or very soon to do business together.
Marc Halpert, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today. I also like to thank my co-host, Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If LinkedIn is a mystery to you, Marc's the man. If LinkedIn is not a mystery, but it's not your favorite area, Marc's the man. So reach out to Marc on LinkedIn and remember to use the magic words. It's more than just please. And go from there. To reach us, info@creativeinsight.com. That's info at creativeinsight.com or websites, creativeinsight.com. Wayne, how can folks reach you, sir?
Best way is my website, Motive, the numeral 8, the letter U.ca, or go to my LinkedIn site, Wayne Pratt.
Hey guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me back on. It's been fun.
If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from @Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Webber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motive8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer. Please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.